game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way, you wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Then step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
And so it is time to go racing. This is it, the build-up to the big one, as we are less than a day away from the biggest race of the year. The Daytona 24-hour will be on tomorrow, and the drivers are getting their final bits of preparation in, and we'll be taking you through this 45-minute race. Myself, Liz McGlade, is coming alongside me in the booth, and we are going to have a lot of fun, potentially a lot of crashes as well. It's going to be a good one.
Have some faith, Lewis. Have some faith. We're going to have a fantastic motor race here at the World Centre of Racing. And like you say, it's the big one. For us here on iRacing, it does not get any bigger in terms of special events than the 24 Hours of Daytona. I can't wait to see how many people turn up tomorrow for the big one. But these are the drivers at the very sharp end of that competition.
Yeah, strength of field today will be absolutely off the scale. Arguably one of the highest levels of strength of field that we've ever seen. Of course, you know the schedule. We were back a few weeks back. We went racing at places like Long Beach and stuff like that. Had Watkins Glen just last week. I gave that a go a few times. I was pretty bad. We're here at Daytona, which is obviously going to be as busy again before we go to the Nürburgring and Sebring later on in the season. But this is the big one. This is the one that everyone's been targeting all the way throughout the season. It's the one that's going to be, like I say, the one they want to win the most on the build-up to tomorrow.
I think so, yeah. This is really where you want to feel like you've got good pace in the car. Yes, the format is slightly different. This is a 45-minute sprint race, effectively. Will give us an idea of who's got that ultimate pace going into tomorrow. Because remember, in the iRacing Daytona 24 Hours, no safety cars.
Absolutely not. There's a confirmation of the cars we've got in action, of course, across the three classes, GT, LMP2s and GTDs, of course, 4 in the Ps, 6 in the GTDs with that single LMP2 Dallara P217, which is probably going to be arguably, and I don't want to be that guy, arguably the weaker of the 3 classes, which is absolutely fine because GTDs and GTPs will be boosting that one up again. Qualifying is presently underway. We're in the final couple of minutes of it, as you can see, as night has fallen here at Daytona Beach. This, like I say, I'm looking at it. This is a who's who, big names all over the place. Is exactly what we want to see at the moment. Provisionally, Josh Ladd is on pole position in the in the GTPs rather. Fabrizio Donoso is on pole position at the moment in the LMP2s, as you can see there. Gustavo Ariel currently on pole position in the GTDs, the highest I-rated driver that we've got on the grid today.
And there's certainly plenty of top-rated I-rating drivers here. I mean, this will be one of the busiest public sessions out with of a special event all year as well, because everyone's putting that final bit of preparation, almost like cramming the night before an exam, just making those fine tweaks to the setup, and also just getting used to seeing how these cars race together as well, how that mix of GTP, LMP2 and GTD all together mixes up here at Daytona International Speedway.
Absolutely. You will notice when we get into the race and when we see the qualifying order, there's a couple people using a Smurf accounts. They don't want to burn too much I-rating before we get into the main race tomorrow. So that's fair enough. You might see a couple of names on there, the likes of Marcus Hamilton, love that one, and a certain Jos Verstappen. Really nice. Really nice to see Jos on the grid.
Well, I
Definitely
think it's fantastic to see us. We think of Jos Verstappen as a Formula One driver, but actually he's got a fantastic sports car pedigree. He won the 2008 Le Mans LMP2 class in a Porsche RS Spider. So really, this is him in his comfort zone in a Le Mans prototype.
Exactly, it is 100%. Jos Verstappen.
Yes.
Definitely not Max. Definitely not Max. Also, I know a lot of people that will be found. I didn't expect to see a Mr. Jarno Opmeer out on the grid. Commentated him last night actually. So yeah, fantastic to see what he might be able to do on here on iRacing. I know he's done a lot of racing. He wouldn't be in top split if he hadn't done. He's in the LMP2 category. A lot of big names. A lot of fun. Qualifying is coming to a close before we get into the race. There's going to be pit stops. But I think arguably you might be able to save enough fuel in the slipstream. There's going to be a lot of bump drafting. There might well be, again, I know you said be optimistic, there might well be a couple of crashes. I don't want to be that guy, but it might be.
Well, certainly we've seen some races here at Daytona where in the multi-class environment there's some big risks being taken in traffic. Last week in our RaceSpotTV time show, we went to Watkins and it was absolute carnage. Let's hope we don't see as much of that tonight at Daytona, but everyone's going to be pretty excited about tomorrow for the big 4 hours, so let's see.
Yes, indeed. So the grid is set, and we'll take a look at it. Gustavo Ariel, Sven Olhasa will start alongside on the front row of the grid with Alexei Nesov, Cody Deeth, Jos Verstappen. This is obviously in the GTD category, and Ollie Steinbratton in 6th position. Rolling through the order, we'll try and do it as quick as possible as we can see the entirety of the grid. Lucas Perez will be in 7th position with Carlos Moreira de la Chica starting a bit further down. Then we'll have John Derrick, then we'll have Dennis Grabowski. Great to see him on the grid. Alessandro Porta and Florian Lebigra in the 12th and final position within the GTD category. Of course, if we look in the LMP2s, I believe we've got Fabrizio Donoso starting this one from pole position. We'll hopefully get that on your screen at the moment. Obviously, you see a lot of people, no one's got liveries on. That's fine because they've got until tomorrow to submit their liveries. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yes, Donoso will be starting from pole position in the LMP2s. Josh Ladd will be starting from pole position in the GTPs. As we can now take a look at those LMP2, sorry. Fabrizio Donoso starting from pole position with Leo Roussel starting from 2nd. Pablo, shout out in 3rd position. Fantastic to see him with Christian Steenberg. And then we've got Jarno Opmeer and Nicholas Denelaire starting from 6th place. A little bit further down in the category, you'll see Niels May with Conrad Zarebiat, who I know is a plenty fast enough driver elsewhere in sim racing. Great to see what he can do from 8th. Nathan Olsen and David Massa starting a little bit further down. But we get Andres Linda and Carlos Alvarez Benidi starting towards the back of the grid. But there's still a couple more. Wayne Burke and Jorge Lopez Esposito starting from the final position in the LMP2 category. Then we get to the big one and the very, very scary one indeed, the GTPs. Josh Ladd starting this one from pole position with Eduardo Leo starting on that front row alongside him. Arthur Lehouk starting from third position with Marcus Hamilton. Sebastian Job, Austin Young in sixth position as we'll roll our way through because they are moving on the grid. Linus Sternland will start from seventh position with Kevin Daugert starting from eighth. Benjamin Bartow and Phil Kraus. Sam Michaels and Matthias Pironen will start from 12th position with another couple of pages still to get through. We'll let those roll their way through as I get your predictions, Pete, for the race. Who do we think is going to come out on top in this one? And where do you think the crashes are going to happen?
Well, it's very, very hard to predict, to be honest, with this type of sprint format. I think it's going to be an Acura winning overall.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, honestly, no idea. Great call, but you just never really know. Got to keep out of trouble, though, as we're going to get ready to go racing. So Josh Ladd from that pole position will take us up to the start line as we are underway here at Daytona the night before the big race. A great start there from Arthur Lehouk to follow the race leader through there to take over second position. Out wide will go Eduardo Leo, potentially out a little bit too wide, opening the door potentially for Sebastian Job to come through, but they make their way through turn one cleanly and down towards the International Horseshoe. Nice and tidy, the GTPs.
So they come through really tight there. Oh, we've got a spinner in the background as well. And do they all get through cleanly? I think they do just about one spinner right there at the International Horseshoe. Very, very risky.
Yeah, not 100% sure as to who that was, but someone backwards regardless. So a bit of a shame there. I think Sebastian Job has now been off the road there. You can see him driving straight off, dropping down the order to potentially around about 11th spot as they work their way back out onto the high banks. The GTPs still being led by Josh Ladd, and comfortably so, but Eduardo Leo dropping back to that third position, dropping right off of the top two. In the other categories though, I believe it's Leo Russell who is leading in the LMP2, so he's taken that all over for Fabrizio Donoso, and you can see Gustavo Ariel still maintaining the lead over Alexei Nesov.
The LMP2 is trying to use that draft as best as possible, trying to get a run down the Daytona bankings. Meanwhile, in the GTDs, it's the Team Redline car of Gustavo Ariel in the Mercedes, pulling along his teammate Alexei Nesov. In fact, it's three Redline Mercedes up there at the front of the field right now in GTD. Yeah,
exactly. You can see Jos, definitely Jos Verstappen in that third spot, just picking up the slipstream. I do remember Redline in this championship when we went to the Circuit de la Sarthe. They were extremely strong in the GTD category, and they're looking pretty strong again. They want to really throw their hat into the ring for tomorrow's race. And when you get three of them working like this at the front, they're going to be a very tough customer to beat.
Very much so, and the thing was, well, this Mercedes is really tailor-made for the Daytona International Speedway. It was one of the dominant cars in the real-life event last year. It just makes most of its lap time on the straight. It's got a big grunty 6.2 litre V8. It's not a demanding circuit on the handling of the car. It's really all about straight-line performance here. Braking as well, of course, but mainly straight-line performance. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see so many of the big Mercs at the front of the field.
No, exactly, and like I say, it'll come down to the likes of Sven Haas to maybe sneak one on the red line grouping ahead, but we'll have to see if he's going to get any assistance from those behind that might want to throw their hat into the ring as well. Look back up the orders of what happened to Austin Young. He was the driver that was spun around in the International Horseshoe, driving it in not too deep or anything like that, maybe just a little bit of a touch off the corner and spinning right in front of them. Thankfully, everyone's able to avoid, but unfortunately for Austin Young, you'll see this, all the LMP2s work their way through, doing the right thing in a sense, just remaining stationary before getting back going again to be predictable at the bare minimum.
I think Matthias Pironen just clipped him as he came through in that Porsche 963. But these GTP cars, they've got such a aggressive power delivery. You've got the over 600 horsepower from the internal combustion engine, but then another 70 horsepower from the electric motor. So, and that electric motor is an instant power delivery and the rear wheel drive only. So you get a lot of power coming in very quickly. So it's easy to spin on cold tyres.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it's easy to spin in two places, like I say, because of the regen and stuff. See, you'll see quite a lot of the GTPs, especially even tomorrow when drivers are jumping in. You might see them on the very first lap they jump in, or even, to be fair, midway through the stint. On the brakes, you can spin these cars, these GTPs, really easily on the brakes. Some of them are worse than others. I remember the BMW was pretty volatile with it, but I think people they've fairly got the hand of it at the moment. I love that livery. Who is that? I love it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, which one? They're both pretty. The eBay one's pretty. The
eBay one's
pretty
all right.
But it's pretty cool. It's got a bit of BMW 1 Series BTCC about it. But
Exactly.
yeah, the car behind, the Porsche 963, looks superb. Marco Jaeger, full marks with the rubber ducky from your bath as well. Very nice.
Honestly, that livery is 10 out of 10. I love the idea that someone's racing in top split and goes, do you know what? We're going to go with this. Honestly, I absolutely love that. Might well pick up a spot here as well, right onto the rear end of Philip Bomb. But I do believe might want to sit behind and do some of that cheeky bump drafting to try and catch those ahead. Matthias Peronin is the one ahead, straight down the inside now into T1. And Marco Jaeger will pick up that spot. So now into 18th position, is out way wide. Goes, that will be Vadovio.
So Sam Michaels in the number 12 Acura making a move there through the international horseshoe, using that 2.4 litre twin turbocharged engine and just punching out the corners. Of course, we saw last year's Rolex 24 at Daytona that Acura really was the car to beat in both the Meyer-Shank and Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti teams, but particularly just off the corners, just punches out so well.
I do wonder, I was going to start talking about this with the GTD category particularly. Obviously, you can see all the Mercs up there.
10 of them.
I don't want to be that guy. Nice BOP. But I've got to say, if you're in this position, you're picking up the slipstream, etc., etc. I mean, can you save enough fuel to do the entirety of the 45 minutes? We saw this a lot at Long Beach, which makes sense, fair enough. But around here, you're on throttle surely way too long to save that much fuel in this series.
No, definitely not. You will have to take a pit stop here. But if you're in that group, you can use so much less fuel and then jump in the pit stop. There's no minimum pit stop time or anything like that, and I don't envisage any of the teams bothering with changing tyres. 45 minutes, not a problem on a set of tyres, and you don't actually want to put new ones on and have to warm them up for a couple of laps. You just splash and go. So very much a sprint pit stop, almost like a kind of DTM style pit stop. Yeah,
exactly. Certainly not. In this series, you want to see that pit stop be as short as possible. You never take tyres in this. Not really. You wouldn't be taking that much fuel to kind of go, yeah, we can definitely take some tyres. As we can see, Sebastian Jobs worked his way up now into 6th position after the recovery. He went off a little bit in the West Horseshoe on the first lap. We saw it a little bit in the background. Now finds himself in 6th position. I think dropped back to maybe 8th or so. Will say as well, speaking of charging through the field and other red line drivers, of which we do have quite a lot on this grid, Chris Lullen, Silly Lully, up inside the top 10 now with 9th place. He started from the rear, 21st in the rear of the GTP field. It's taken him a whopping 7 minutes to get inside the top 10. He's pretty good.
That's remarkable, because it's not as if he's by far the highest rated driver in the field. Everyone in this top split in that GTP class is a superstar. So to do that is frankly miraculous and very promising for tomorrow for the Red Line team. And they've really made a signature of winning these iRacing special events. They just seem to get the car set up right. Even picking the right car is something that they've been very good at in the past, and certainly getting ready. Good lineup of drivers. Yeah, they're definitely going to go into tomorrow with the target on their back.
Whoa, a big attempt there for Phil Krause to get around the outside. Now drive slightly into the rear end of the Cadillac of Benjamin Bartow. And now Silly Lully is going to make his way through. Bit of a dive down the inside. Phil Krause has to jump out of the way. And Lullen moves up another spot now, 8 positions. Unfortunately, when he gets past the next one, it's quite a big gap up towards his teammate, Sebi Job. So going to have to do a little bit of work here and dig fairly deep to close that gap. But that was a nice move on the private label Team Hype driver.
Of course, private label Team Hype, part owned by Tommy Milner, a driver who's won in this race in class before, in the GTLM class, and occasionally takes part driving with the team. And of course, they're running a GM product as well.
Of course, they have to. Surely they have to.
Yes.
It wouldn't be right, with Tommy Milner. Like, yeah, anything else? No, it's fine. Let's see if Chris Ludlam can get his way past now. Next one to be ticked off. Surely not into. I still want to keep calling it the bus stop. I know it's the Le Mans chicane, but I can't help it.
It is so easy to slip into that. I think especially when it's been called that for so long too, and then you have one at Watkins Glen as well. So you kind of think chicanes on big long straightaways, they do tend to be called that. Yes, Le Mans chicane. It was two years ago?
I was going to say, I think
that now, yeah.
I think it might have been last year was the first one we were properly using it, but it might have been like changed to like midway through the year before, but I'm pretty sure, I can't remember. That's a big one down the inside though from Phil Krause, who will now pick up a position himself, getting past Baratel. So nice one there for Krause. Did you struggle with that in, obviously you've done comms on the real thing, and I'm assuming you are again, aren't you? You're going back out to Daytona, right?
Can't wait. Yes,
can't wait. Do you struggle with it in real life, calling it the Le Mans chicane or the bus stop?
Do you know, I think I'm okay, but then do you know what? I've probably said it just out of complete habit and not even noticed. I've made the error. Leaders coming through the GTD traffic, and yeah, it's kind of like almost like having a bad dream. You've all of a sudden got to drive through 10 Mercedes AMG GT3s. It's so unusual to see 10 of the same car in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean,
carving the way through.
I've got to say, at this level, the important thing there is by the time you've got to the back of the GT3, they're all basically on the same pace, right? Which means once you get to the back of them, you're having to pass the entire train in one go. And that can be a little bit scary, shall we say. I was going to say, I thought that might have been Sebastian Joe that's making a bit of a dive down the inside. It wasn't. But someone making a bit of a dive anyway, going down into the Le Mans chicane as they work their way through. This is how you want to do it. Just basically dive into the inside, pick up the strip stream, driving back out, and dragging your way through as you head back out on the start-finish straight, hoping that you've got enough power to clear the entire field by the time you get down into T1. It's very stressful clearing a field like that, but you can tell it's already split apart the GTDs quite a lot.
And this might be where you might want to change the power to... Oh, that's too much. Yeah. That was always going to happen.
There was absolutely no position on planet Earth where that was going to happen, unfortunately. Trying to make that 3-wide going around the outside there. You can see Mattia Drudi trying to rejoin effectively. You have Fredes in there. I think Sam Michaels might have been another one. Well, Sam Michaels is there. Never mind. Sam Michaels is out of the race. Big shame.
Yeah, that is a big shame. Yeah, after 12 minutes of action, just to go on a quarter distance, that's not what we want to see. But yeah, these GTP cars, they have 3 power delivery modes effectively. You have the balanced mode, which you usually drive it in. You have the build, which is basically recharging the battery, and then you have attack, which is spin in the background there, coming onto the super speedway. Philip Baum has spun it there at turn 7. Oh,
not great. Not bit of a shame. I have seen a car in that livery backwards a few times, so we'll never know. As a Colin Turkington fan, it breaks my heart, but it's fine. Either way, we'll get back going again. Fair enough, is what it is. Dust it off and hopefully try and survive through the race. I think the important bit there with Sam Michaels, and this goes for the entire grid. Retiring this race is really, really bad, right? If you're on the cusp of getting through into top split, you've got the iRating where you might be able to do it, and you might just want to gain a little bit more. Having a retirement in this race where you're going to lose a whole heat could genuinely make the difference as to whether you're in top split or out of top split tomorrow afternoon.
Very true. Yep, totally agree. And that is kind of almost, to use a golfing analogy, it's like someone trying to make their card. They've got to finish in the top 10 or something to get their playing rights for the following year. The Daytona 24 Hour, to get on the top split broadcast, of course, a week before the real life event, the same weekend as the Roar before the 24 test. That's there's the eyes are on at that point, and you want to be in that big show. And you never know, particularly if you're in, if you have a clean run, you have a clean race, you never know what you can get, because the winner in the GTD and GTP categories gets an automatic place in the IMSA Global Esports Championship at the end of the year, which is a big deal. Yeah, exactly. There's it's not just an invite only championship. You can now race your way into it with a victory in this. Of course, I do feel that most of the teams that will
will end up winning a race, obviously that's in the GTP and GTD categories, a team that will end up winning in those categories, they're normally going to be a team that you'd expect to get an invite anyway. But still, it's great for those underdogs that maybe they might just sneak a pathway in. Here's Silly Lully going to get past Sterling, and straight on the inside of the number 28, nice and easy, down to T1. That's the big gap though that we're talking about now, up to his teammate Sebastian Job. It is 1.4 seconds, and it's a further 1.5 up to Marcus Hamilton in fourth place. But a solid recovery drive from Lulham now sees him 6th in class.
I think it's pronounced Marcus, Lewis.
Oh, sorry, I should Marcus Hamilton.
He's really particular about that. He gets quite upset.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry.
it's okay.
I'll apologise to him after the race. Sorry, Marcus. He's doing a great job though. He's really shown that maybe the Ultra Esports bunch is definitely going to be one to look at tomorrow. We look back in the GTD category, of course, back to Grabowski, who's embroiled in this fight to try and make his way past John Derrick.
Yeah, Dennis Grabowski, the Pro-Am champion in the World GT Championship that we broadcast here on RaceSpotTV. It actually kicks off a brand new season on Monday, so do join us there, myself and Paul Smith on commentary. But he's signed for Altitude Esports. That's a big snip off from an LMP2. Take that one off your bingo card.
I was 2nd in class there. That was Fabrizio Donoso trying to cut the gap as close as possible. That's very sketchy. And to be fair there, Pablo might have opened the door a little bit here for Grabowski to might well sneak way through. Thing is, this is the whole question around whatever. You know what I meant. When it comes to Daytona, do you want to be ahead or not? That's the question. Like, right, really, around here, you maybe don't want to be so much.
No, I think you want to be following a car that's ever so slightly faster than you, if such a thing exists. You want a car that can drag you along and can pull you along. The slipstream effect is enormous in any class, but particularly in the LMP2s. Actually, they draft really strongly. So yeah, you really want that. You really want that front gunner ahead of you, and you almost kind of want to be in that position until you come out of the Le Mans chicane in the last lap.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious to see what's going to be happening up in the race lead of the GTD category. There is Jarno Opmeer on the road at the moment, just trying to navigate some traffic, defending a little bit from Nathan Olsen. I say I've not seen Jarno on iRacing much. I think I've seen it a couple of times, but he's 5.5k I rated. I'm not even that far behind Jarno. Get on with it. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, sees himself in 5th in class, but drops quite a little bit off the back of Christian Steenberg. So that's not ideal. And obviously, we've got that 3-way fight in the LMP2 category with Leo Russell, Fabrizio Donoso, and Pablo.
Top marks to the Mercedes AMG GT3 driver who's gone for the Haribo Nürburgring livery. On the big marks for that. So we've got Rubber Ducky, we've got the Haribo Bear mixing it up there as well. Top 3 though, all Team Redline cars in GTD. Gustavo Ariel, Alexei Nezov, who's got a bit of real world GTE experience as well, and Jos Verstappen. Well, it just keeps the real years rolling back every time he gets in the car.
The thing is, I have a fear now that lots of people watching will actually be like, is that actually Jos Verstappen behind the wheel? No. Max is just using Dad's account. I think he might have run out of money, and so it's just he's lending a little bit. Exactly.
It's off season.
Just borrowing a little bit off of Papa to sneak his way behind the wheel. But obviously, you can see running in that 3rd spot. I will say I've noticed with Alexei Nesov. Great to see him in red line colours, by the way. Obviously, after the departure of Urano at the end of last year, is blinking a little bit, which I'm not going to lie. If I'm in Verstappen's boots, I'm a little concerned about, just because every time I want to get close to the rear end of that car, it disappears.
So a little bit of internet connection issue, but more. Oh yeah, there he goes again. Yes, I'm not sure exactly where Alexei races from, but yeah, clearly the internet not quite performing too well. And the LMP2s, they're going to try and roast right around the outside of the kink and then keep the inside for the western horseshoe, as the GTDs, they hold the wider line there.
got to say, like, it's for Verstappen. I think like it's okay because obviously you're in communication with your teammate. Fair enough. So at least there's that. With the LMP2s that are coming through, that's where I feel like the big problem is because when Alexei Nesov is blinking, and you're trying to get past some of the lap traffic, that's where the problems can really arise, because that's where the big miscommunications come from. You'd be like, oh, there wasn't a car there a second ago, and suddenly, boff, you can see a larger gap appearing for our race leader, Gustavo Ariel. So that one's now up to 0.7 of a second. I suspect they'll all close their way back in, but Sven Haas is not that far off the rear end of this grouping. And you can even see, to be fair, Cody Deeth is trying to throw the car around as hard as possible to catch his way back up, and there's the Haribo car, and then drag yet another red line boy along with him, Ollie Steinbratton, who was, in my opinion, one of the most impressive drivers in the IMSA Esports Championship we had at the end of last year.
Cody Deeth has one squished Haribo bear in a red line sandwich right now.
Oh, don't call it a red line sandwich. You were doing so well with the golf stuff earlier.
Well, actually, no. It would be a Haribo sandwich, wouldn't it?
Thank
with red
you.
line bread. Yes.
I'm so proud of you. Oh God! I honestly,
you don't have a bread sandwich. You're right.
I was about to leave. I'm not going to lie. I was genuine. I was about to just leave this. You'd have to do it with EQ, who obviously is bringing us this broadcast. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of red line drivers in this race. Speaking of another couple, there is Chris Olam getting past Sebastian Job now in the GTPs. But yeah, I'm glad you corrected yourself. I'm really glad.
Paul Smith kept me right on that one.
Good.
He's of the same view as you. Looking at the I mean, it's very clear in GTD which is the car to have. If you're planning on racing in the Daytona 24 hours tomorrow and you haven't made your mind up on the car and you want to race GTD, use the AMG, because clearly it's the car to have right now. In terms of GTP, a little bit of a mix, but 3 Acuras in the top 4. Does that put the Acura in a good place? I think it probably does.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does look like a bit more of an Acura kind of race, but then you never really know. I mean, like, it's one of those ones that come tomorrow. You know, if Coanda come along and win in a Porsche, if Red Line sneak a victory in a BMW, if Williams take it in an Acura, then, you know, fair enough. I wouldn't necessarily be too shocked. Unfortunately, by the way, if you're not if you're not a Redline fan and you're thinking, Cody Deeth was doing really well, he's just got a slow down penalty on the exit of the Le Mans chicane in the GTDs, so bye-bye to his chance of taking victory today. They are gone as we see some of the GTPs work their way into pit lane, and by some of them, I mean all of the ones at the top of the field.
So in they come then, so it'll just be a very quick splash and dash. It's near enough half race distance, just shy of half race distance, as they come in to fill up with fuel. In they come. Oh, and, well, all 3 of them take tyres. All 4 of them take tyres. How wrong are we?
Well, that's why we are in the commentary booth.
Correct.
Because, again, where it is...
Rears only? You go rears
yeah,
only? Yeah,
I was going to say, so obviously Jack Savage has stayed out on the circuit for an obvious reason, so that we can take a look at this absolutely glorious livery.
It is.
I couldn't drive it myself. I don't think I could do that. But seeing a Cadillac drive round with that in a normal race, I would absolutely obliterate someone for having a livery like that, because I think it's well, I mean, having anime on your car is never the right option. But at the same time, in a top split race like this, part of me is just like, I love the audacity.
I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I think if there were a car like that in the real life Daytona, there'd be some people in the RV park that might be rather perturbed by that.
Oh yeah,
especially on the flanks of a Cadillac.
Yeah, right. Of all of the cars, the Cadillac is the one to not put that on. That's why it's so good. Back into the LMP2.
Challenges preconceptions.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it. Big gaps here in the GTDs as well. You can see that gap back from 4th position. Sven Haas is now the only driver that isn't driving around in a red line car in the top 6. So it's probably not a comfortable time for Sven Haas, I'm not going to lie.
I think he'll be raring to go with it. So I think he's thinking, you guys thinking you've covered your own little private parade, your own little private practice session. Well, I'm about to make a mess of your party here. And I think for Sven, he's just thinking, he's probably thinking, I grew up watching Jos Verstappen driving for Stuart Grand Prix. I could overtake him here. This is amazing.
How old do you think Sven Haase is?
I don't know actually how
No,
old he
actually,
is.
I've got absolutely no idea. So I guess we'll have to have that information posted in chat because we've got no idea.
Well, maybe if he's younger, he maybe watched watched VHS or maybe early DVDs of Jos Verstappen's, F1 season review 1997.
Here's the slowdown. You can just see it here. Just driving a little bit too wide there. Dips 2 wheels in that grass. If you put 2 wheels in the grass in that runoff a little bit just past the curb, instant slowdown. So Cody Deeth had to pull straight out of the way, and there is a look at that as to what dropped the Haribo car off the rear end of the red lines. What's a VHS?
Don't.
No, I'm joking.
Don't pretend.
Of course I know, but it does concern me the amount of people in the audience probably that don't know what a VHS is, which does kill me a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, they're not as wise as us.
Exactly. That's why we're in the commentary booth, boring everyone. This gap keeps shrinking a lot in those GTDs, and then it grows back out, and then it shrinks, and it grows back out. It's very interesting.
It is, and we've got a two-car breakaway here in the LMP2 as Leo Roussel and Fabrizio Donoso are miles ahead of the rest in the field, but Roussel, curiously, actually making a bit of an effort to keep Donoso at bay there, not letting him go by. So quite happy to be leading out the front, which is an alternative tactic here at Daytona when the draft is just so strong, but perhaps planning a run into the pits and doesn't want to be hindered coming into the pits. It's a big braking zone because you're clicking on for, certainly in an LMP2, you'd be clicking on for 185 miles an hour when you hit the brakes for coming into the pits. They don't come into the pits. They do. We've got a split here. Fabrizio Donoso comes into the pits. Roussel carries on.
I don't know how you feel. I genuinely feel that this might well be one of the hardest pit entries. Because the thing is, I've said this before, it's wide open. You kind of think, surely it's easy. But there's no reference. There's barely any reference. Actually bringing it down and getting it stopped, not braking too early, but then also not braking too late where you're going to break the speed limit. In some pit entries like Spa, which are much narrower and in a sense, realistically, they should be more difficult. I don't necessarily believe that they are, purely based on the fact of you've got more reference. Here, you have nothing. You have just basically a car park to drive through and hope you get the car stopped.
No, you're right. There's a lot less reference points in Spa. You're coming down to at a low speed anyway. That really is don't hit the wall. And I think at the top level, I think you'll be fine. But here you've got. I think actually that's where the top teams will definitely practice that on lots of occasions, trying to get that. And of course, practicing it with low fuel in the car, not full fuel. As well, because the car will perform differently, especially in something like a GTD car. We got maybe 100 litres of fuel on board when it's full, and obviously a lot less than that when it's empty. So, that makes a difference on where you brake. And again, with the GTD cars, with the ABS, you've got to be actually quite consistent, because if you are too aggressive on the application, the ABS system can cut in and can actually be almost less predictable than a car without ABS. So it's really interesting there. You're spot on. There are a few tiny little references. I find there's a little line that kind of jags like a triangle. I kind of use that, just brake before that, and at the top guys are probably going, oh no, we're 10 metres after that. What are you doing?
Only 10. Yeah,
and you're just trying to keep it down, and you're seeing the cones coming towards you so quickly. You're thinking, oh god, I'm gonna speed here, and then you hit the pit limiter, and the car's going, and just trying to make it in there without speeding, but not losing time. There's nothing more annoying than slowing down too much and have to speed back up again.
Well, there is Leo Roussel in the exits of the pit lane, working their way around. And I'll tell you that Donoso is quite a few seconds behind there. You can see him driving around in the background. This has actually worked out in favour of those that have actually stayed out. So Pablo's even gained from it as well, at least a position on Fabrizio Donoso. So there is a bit of a switch in the LMP2s. Obviously, we're waiting for a fair amount of the contingent to come into the lane, as we do have our final GTP coming down onto it. Franco Righieri now onto the lane. So Josh Ladd will retake over the race lead with Arthur Lehouk behind. There's a look at Marcus Hamilton. Hamilton.
Yeah, I think he's almost given us, like, you know, you get those like phonetic ways to pronounce names, like it's how they spell it out, how it sounds. Maybe that's, so it's Marcus Hamilton. Need to remember I need to write that down for tomorrow's race and make sure I don't mispronounce his name. GTD's all leader and the train of Mercedes AMGs in the pits as well for their service. And out and Sven has managed to sneak his way in there.
Yeah, I wonder if they've dropped one.
They've split.
Yeah, I'm not. They must just like pitted at different points. Actually, no. Sorry, I'll correct myself. Verstappen was really slow in the box. He's only just left the pit lane now.
Come on, Jost.
Verstappen.
Come on, Jost.
It's the old man reactions. They're just not quite there anymore. That's what it is. Maybe again, I did no idea, but either way, it had a really slow stop comparatively. Might have taken tyres when everyone else didn't. I don't know.
That could be, yes, could be. I mean, with GTDs, I really don't see the
well, let's see
the benefit.
See if there is. See if this car goes up onto the jacks when it comes to the pit lane. Maybe it was a little bit too fast in. No, it wasn't too fast in. That's absolutely fine. Oh, missed his box. Oh, 10 out of 10. Get your eyesight sorted.
Make it up. That was quite a significant. Will you get a penalty for that?
In real motorsport, yes. In this, I think you can get away with reversing a little bit. That was a concerningly large amount of reversing, yes. But I think if you're going back like 4 or 5 bays, it's absolutely fine. But there we go. Now we know. So it's not nothing to do with tyres or anything like that. It is. It's purely. Oh, do I say it? It's purely incompetence. Sorry. Oops. Anyway, I'm out. See you in a bit.
Lewis McLean, ladies and gentlemen.
No, obviously, it's an easy mistake. I'd rather make that mistake today than tomorrow. Let's put it that way. True.
This is a warm up for us as well.
Yes. Oh no! Yeah.
Do you think we could have Smurf? Do you think we could have commentator Smurf accounts? No, who would you pretend? I'm going to say it's Paul Smith here.
Oh, nice.
Paul Smith here. So I make lots of mistakes.
What was that random guy called? What did he call Arjuna? It was like Arnuja Kinney Patty or something. No, that would probably be his. To be fair, mine will be Rigsby Hufflepuff because both names are a digger Oscar Hardwick. So
that's your rally name, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And my any time that I have to go by a different name in sim racing, it's always Rigsby Hufflepuff. So if you ever get taken out by someone called Rigsby Hufflepuff,
it's you.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Don't DM me. Yeah. Whoops. Big gap for Lea Russell in the LMP2 category. We look a little bit further down to Jarno Opmeer, who's actually lost out a little bit through the pit stop sequence, which would be a bit of a concern.
It is, yeah. Apparently Lulu McGlade is another one to watch.
Lulu McGlade is another one. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. How many accounts do you have?
No comment. It depends on what website we're on, to be perfectly honest. But
when I saw the timing screen when we came in, I actually thought we'd logged on to an Automobilista 2 race. You know, have you ever seen the it's like Pro Evolution Soccer? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, all of the
Misty Aldo Lonaldo.
Felipe Mafra was always my favourite one.
Yes.
It's just like, I mean, that's almost like it's too close, but it's not. It's fair enough.
Adam McLeish.
Alan McLeish. That's a good one. Oh dear. Back into the GTD battle where we can see Florian Lebigra right onto the rear end of Sven Haase, trying to find their way past. The big issue at the moment for Sven Haase is Alexei Nesov and Gustavo Ariel. They are right down the road. The gap is 2 seconds to the leading duo.
That's quite ominous because when they came out of the pits, Sven Haase was right with Gustavo Ariel and Alexei Nesov, and they've just dropped him. It could be that Nesov had a slowdown penalty, but they seem to have just really tore away into the distance. And Nezov there, excuse me, Hassa there has dropped back into the clutches of the number 9 red line Mercedes of Jos Verstappen.
Yeah.
Excuse me, of Florian Lebiga and Jos Verstappen right in there as well.
Got to say as well, whilst we're speaking of teams working together, so you obviously got the red lines here either side of the grid and go-car. I've seen a little bit of a switch in the GTP category. Arthur Hook and Josh Ladd have switched over a couple of times. There's little bits here and there. Obviously the pair of those taking Williams around. I have noticed though, Eduardo Leo's right on the rear end of him, so we might well see Leo trying to work his way into the mix. And I say, whilst everyone's talking about the potential of Redline, the potential of Williams, blah, 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 might well chuck a cheeky Altus Esports hat into the ring and say, not just yet.
Well, and Altus, they ran well in the Cadillac in the IMSA Global Esports Championship. They switched to the BMW for this race, and yeah, it appears to be going very, very well. And it seems though that you can, and this is what I like to see, you could win the race in several different manufacturers. There's not often, it's not a nice feeling going into a race knowing that there's one car that's got such an advantage over the rest. I mean, it's a balance of performance formula both here in the virtual world as well as in the outdoor world. So yeah, you want to make, if you're going to use that process, you've got to make sure it's as spot on as it can be. So yeah, good to see a mix of manufacturers up at the front.
It does look a lot more solid in the GTPs than it does in GTDs. GTDs a little bit like, oh god.
Yes, yeah. We could see an entire field of AMGs tomorrow.
Absolutely. The reason why I want to bring out, like I say, like this is it is a bit of a problem, isn't just because if you're in any other car other than a Merc, then you're not going to win. Maybe you do. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get really good. Who knows? But everyone's just sort of, a lot of the reaction to it is, well, just take a Mercedes then. But a lot of teams, and it is becoming commonplace in sim racing, that a lot of these teams cannot take a Mercedes because their team has brand associations. We see Kevin Dalgett with a lack of rear on his GTP, on that caddy. That's not going to be comfortable to drive.
It's gone for the Peugeot 9X8.
Oui.
Yeah. Wingless.
Absolutely, yeah. That's I can tell you that ain't quick.
It's not a type of KFC bucket.
Wingless. Now, why? Yeah, you got the bonus banquet. I don't know you do that. Either way, let's see if Eduardo Lea is going to sneak it through wide on the start-finish straight. Absolutely to the outside as we head into the tri-oval and down towards turn 1. Surely he's going to back out. They've got a bit of GTD traffic up ahead as well, as we'll now see Arthur Lehouk sweep through to take over the race lead. Absolutely nowhere for Leo to go. Tries to sneak it outside, tries to sneak it inside. This is trying to get past Cody Deeth at the moment in that GTD in the Haribo car. Straight around the outside, Josh Ladd's going to go to maintain second position in category. Meanwhile, we've got about a second gap built now for the Acura of Arthur Lehouk.
That was absolutely genius there in traffic from Arthur Lehouk, and now with around a second, but he hits traffic again, so it could have really made a bit of an advantage there, and he's stuck right behind an LMP2 car, so he's going to have to wait here, and that gives an opportunity for Josh Ladd and for the Altus BMW there to cut off Eduardo Leo to come into the mix as well. I love that street fighting through traffic and how it just comes back and forth all the time.
It's one thing that I love about
Leo
Daytona.
might miss the bus here.
Yes, yeah, you're going to have to commit too much if you're going to get past the GTDs. That's a big commitment, and send it in. Eduardo Leo, I was watching that just on the right-hand side of the shot, just in the background, basically. Had to fully commit to get past the GTD leader, Gustavo Ariel and Alexei Nesov. That was very brave, but if he has any want to win today, which, let's be honest, you do, it was now or never for him. Big send. That was bold.
And that was multi-class send as well. There was an LMP2 to get by in a hurry. You've got to judge that, and then 2 Mercedes AMG GT3s, which are basically forming one 8-wheeled car at the moment at the front of the field. So, yeah, really, really tight there for Eduardo Leo. Big risk, but good reward there. So this is what happened to the 42 Cadillac. Did it get animated? No.
Oh,
just got ran into the back of by an LMP2.
And Dalgett's car decided that it was a good idea to disintegrate. Normally those cars are a bit tanky. That one definitely wasn't. The rear just went, no thanks, and off it went. That was, probably a bit disappointing and a bit frustrating, but alas, is what it is. 7 minutes left to go in the race. Kind of another thing, by the way, if you're a high I-rated driver, you know, like when you're above like 9K, you're a bit, you know, bit up there, let's say. Races when they're this high on the strength of field is actually probably the only time where you can gain more than like 10 I rating from a race. At the moment, I'm taking a look. Eduardo Leo, who's 9K, is gaining 33 I rating from this race. That's wild to me. You do not see drivers with that high I rating gaining that much very often.
They really do have to grind to get you. You think when you get over some drivers over 10, 11,000, you think that is so much grinding away and having no crashes, no issues, just running at the front all the time. It's just so tough, tough.
Let's see if Eduardo Leo might stick a few more bits of I rating onto his list. Around the outside, he's going to try and get past both the Williams. He's got a bit of an overlap here on Josh Ladd, gets squeezed out a little bit at T1, does not gain either position, but with 6 minutes left to go on the clock, he's desperate to find a way past. At the moment, this really is the fight for the categories, as out wide just a touch goes Josh Ladd, opens the door for Arthur Lehouk to potentially come through as they run up towards the dogleg.
So 2 Acuras, 1 BMW racing seemingly in perfect harmony so far, but I think the difference is here you've got 2 Williams cars and 1 Altus. That's a big part, and you're much better having a friend than an enemy in this situation. So the 2 Williams Acuras here can really work together quite well. Fantastic. So these cars, they just look fantastic. They look brilliant. I love how they just have the styling's really been opened up on them. And you look at the Porsche, it's very smooth and it's got nice clean lines, whereas the Acura just looks like it's going to stab you.
I think the Acura, I love the Acura. I think it looks so aggressive. You wouldn't want to meet that in a dark alley. That's let's be honest. Whilst they're all focused on themselves, by the way, Lulham is closing up. 2.5 seconds now off the rear end of this. If they battle hard or catch an awkward bit of traffic, I reckon you might well see a 4th driver join this mix from the final position on the grid, as Eduardo Leo is going to drop below the double yellow to try and pick up the final bits of slipstream from the LMP2 leader, Leo Russell, as they work their way down towards T1 again, now going for the up and under, gets the overlap and gets past Arthur Lehouk as there is a car off on the right-hand side.
Oh, big slide there from Leo as he backs it into the corner. Fantastic move, just like you said, over and under, Lewis. So cool there from Eduardo Leo and the BMW, and he splits the Williams Acuras now. What can he do with getting a bit of a slipstream from Josh Ladd? Josh Ladd will be trying to scamper away. Now, these GTP cars, they have 3 power modes on them. You can have build to build up the battery. Balanced is what they normally run in through the race, and then you get attack, which just empties the battery, full attack all the way through. Now, towards the end of the race, the last couple of laps, that's when you put it in attack, and you basically want to cross the line with it running out of battery. So I think now in this fight, who's got the battery left to be able to make that run?
Back to Philly K. Phil Krause working his way past Linus Strelland. And does indeed do so. Gets past the 28, although let's be honest, I think Linus is going to try and work his way straight back through along the inside, pulling right up to the double yellow as they work their way down towards the Le Mans chicane. Who's going to back out? This is the who's going to blink first, basically, and unfortunately it is Phil Krause drops back into that 8th position, so Linus will retake over 7th. They've both dropped a whole heap of time to Marcus Hamilton, but there's no threat from them being caught by the mean machine behind of Jack Savage.
The meme machine, I like that. That's the nickname you want to have. 3 minutes to go then here at Daytona, which is that'll be quite tight. I think maybe just 3 laps to go actually. With the leaders would have crossed before that 3 minute mark, so around 1.5 minutes for these GTP cars. As Lehouk trying to keep Leo under pressure. Ladd still got the edge. They're roughly about the same distance apart as they were coming through the kink last time around. Leo trying to hold the inside line there, and that Lehouk says, I'm going to try and hook it right around the outside, but can't quite get it done.
I did see, by the way, there was a car that was stationary on the right-hand side. I believe it might well have been Mattia Drudy, as there is Phil Krause straight off the road at the International Horseshoe, so might get a little bit worse for wear for Phil Kraus, who now has Austin Young behind, but Young, that car behind, is not for position, so does not make his way through, so only loses the single position or that battle, really. 2 minutes left to go. Like you say, we're going to be pretty close when it comes to lap times around here. At the moment, Josh Ladd's doing about 1 minute 30s. It's going to be pretty tight. I think we will get another couple of laps. Yeah,
I think it's going to be 2 more. So whoever's tight on fuel, they might be worried, because I think we're going to go basically as far into overtime as we can possibly go, because they'll pass over the line just before we go 1 minute 30 to go, and that will mean we'll have 2 laps to go rather than 1. So whoever's tight on fuel, they're going to be panicking right now.
They've got about 8 seconds, I make it. I believe that Josh Ladd crossed the line with 1 minute 38 left to go, as we see plenty of side-by-side and looks as we see what's happening with Donoso trying to get past Pablo, looks to the outside, trying to get underneath going through T1, but Pablo Raul Castro is able to hang on to second position. Great drive at the moment. Unfortunately, it's not going to be for the race lead, because 3.2 seconds into the race lead is Leo Russell. Back to Eduardo Leo, who has been dropped a little bit. Arthur LeHoux straight around the outside, got through before they got into the West Horseshoe, and now might hold second place.
Oh, and they touch ever so slightly coming out of turn 7 onto the super speedway, and all that's doing is allowing Josh Ladd to escape. Josh Ladd in a great place here to try and win this race. He's 9/10 of a second ahead of this pair as they run side by side. Who's going to blink as they head up towards the Le Mans chicane for the penultimate time?
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, there's not long left to go in this race. I will just update you a little bit with the GTD category and tell you that Florian Lebiga and Sven Haase have rejoined the battle for the race lead. Of course, Florian Lebiga is going to work with Alexei Nesov and Gustavo Ariel to try and maintain at least, a red line victory, but realistically a 1-2-3. Sven Haase was able to pull away from Oliver Steinbratton, so there's no real pressure from him behind. He can go on the attack. We start the final lap of this race with Josh Ladd leading in the GTPs.
Well, who's got the edge here on pace? It's been fantastic to watch this lead GTP battle with Eduardo Leo mixing it in there with the Williams Acuras, who look to have really strong pace before tomorrow's big one, the Daytona 24-hour. But Josh Ladd has just got that little bit of time in the pocket. His teammate has made Leo's life so difficult that Ladd's been able to just scamper away at the front.
Yeah, I think this is excellent work from Arthur LeHoux to try and basically just be a nuisance at the moment to the Altus Esports driver. Once again, a look to the outside. They will desperately want this to be a 1-2. Leo's tried throwing himself into this, but again, fantastic racing between the pair.
Yeah, really, really good. They make contact again coming into turn 7, and because Leo really shut the door hard in the face there of LeHoux. Now, is Leo held out to dry? Is he gonna be a sitting duck here to the Williams Acura there? Well, let's see.
I believe so. Do you know, that slipstream, the gap's too large. You might want to drop behind. Tries to just make things a little bit awkward for Arthur LeHoux going through the Le Mans chicane. Out wide goes LeHoux, almost getting very close to a slowdown penalty. Did not pick one up, though. We head back onto the high banks for the final time. And the final lap will come to a conclusion. Josh Ladd's going to cross the line to take victory for Williams in big preparation for tomorrow's big race. It is Josh Ladd on top here at the World Centre of Racing. And Eduardo Leo is going to take second place. It is going to be Arthur LeHoux behind. An immense recovery drive from Chris Lullen will see him up into 4th place. Next up and around the final section, we'll see Leo Russell after taking a victory now by nearly 4 seconds over the LMP2 field that was so close for longer periods. Excellent stuff to see and a great victory for him. But then the battles are going to be getting close. We've still basically got half the lap to go for the GTDs.
Well, just dominant there from Leo Russell to win by 3.7 seconds at this level is really impressive. But which red line car is going to come out on top? Gustavo Ariel has led all the way through. Nezov right behind him in the number 3 red line Mercedes. Lebiga just holding a watching brief with Sven Haase right behind. Which AMG GT3 is going to get to the line first? We might get a Daytona 500 finish here.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, I mean, the the red line guys, they're probably going to fight out a little bit. I don't think Sven Haas is going to be close enough to try anything. It is Gustavo with the race lead at the moment. A bit of blinking coming in from Alexei Nesov as we've seen through the race. A bit of bump drafting as well, assistance coming in from your teammate. And I think they have all accepted Gustavo Ariel to be our winner. He's at 11 KI rating. We'll be gaining an extra 53 on top of that for a very well-deserved victory. Across the line, Gustavo Ariel comes to lead a 1-2-3 for Redline. We've seen them dominate in this championship before, and we see it once again. Lucas Perez getting very close to the line with Cody Deeth, separated by thousandths of a second, but impressive stuff in all of that, and a great drive for the Redline bunch.
And I think that is a very, very ominous display for tomorrow for Team Redline. We know how good they are at signing off these iRacing special events, and to just dominate at the front like that, and also have some real discipline. They've not got to worry about getting in tomorrow. They're already kind of locked in with the iRatings that they have. But wasn't that interesting that they didn't pull out of line? They just stayed there like robots, straight over the line, over the checkered flag.
Well, we'll start with the results from the GTD category. Gustavo Ariel taking that victory. Alexei Nesov in second, and Florian Lebigra making it a 1-2-3 for the Redline team. Sven Haase had probably a stressful day out there, to be honest, was battling with Redlines all over the place, because guess what's behind him? Yep, it's another Redline car. Rolly Steinbratton in fifth place. Lucas Perez and Cody Deeth close across the line, separated by a few hundredths of a second, as the legend Jos Verstappen crosses the line in eighth. Carlos Morena in ninth place, and of course we have Alessandro Porta in 10th. The final few positions within the GTD category see Denis Grabowski dropping back down the order, unfortunately, to 11th position, and a retirement from John Derrick sees him down in 12th. Fastest lap, of course, in the race set by Eduardo Leo. I was going to say if that was the GTDs. It's not. It's fine. Into the LMP2 category, Leo Russell dominant towards the end of the race. Excellent stuff, and a fantastic victory. A tight battle across the line. Fabrizio Donoso second place. Pablo Castro dropped back into the clutches of Christian Steenberg there for fourth position with Nathan Olsen. Wayne Burke, Jarno Ottmere inside the top 10 with a seventh place finish in that one, losing out by 0.2 of a second. Nicholas Denler and Comrades Zrebiat, and of course Andreas Linder in 10th. Onto the second page, where we'll see Niels May, Jorge Lopez Esposito, and Carlos Alvarez Benidi, and of course David Massa unfortunately retiring from the race a little bit earlier on. Onto the big category though, where Josh Ladd was taking victory by 1.3 seconds, was able to clear out from his teammate, and of course the battle with him and Eduardo Leo. Josh Ladd taking that victory, Leo behind, and then Lehouk. Great drive from Lulham, 21st to 4th position, all that with Sebastian Job, his teammate, coming out inside the top 5 there. Marcus Hamilton ahead of Linus Sterlund, and of course Phil Kraus, Jack Savage, legendary car, legendary drive, but unfortunately just 9th place for him, ahead of Matthias Peronen. Of course, a bit further down in that category, we see Marcus Jaeger in that 11th position, with Vadolovo rather in 12th position. Then we have Thomas Telemont in 13th position. Kevin Dalgett, who we saw without the rear of the car, finishing just ahead of Philip Baum. Then we have Baratau, then Rigeri, Mattia Drudi, Austin Young, and Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes, unfortunately having some problems throughout the race, with just a couple more in the category, I believe being Sam Michaels, who, as we see, retired from the race earlier on. That prepares us a little bit for tomorrow, Peter, but yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for it after that, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was interesting. And you said there was going to be loads of crashes. I have faith. I don't think there was any. There was. If you've seen last week at Watkins Glen, this was a kids' tea party compared to that. It was absolute chaos there last week at Watkins Glen. That was a lot more orderly. And Williams, they were surrounded with controversy last year. How could we forget that? Clearly, they've got the pace to go and win it tomorrow, and I think that's a way for them to, kind of put last year fully in the past, and get a win on the board with their Acura. Some really strong pace there, and good battling in hand-to-hand combat as well.
You're talking about that as if I wasn't in the race last week. I was in the race last week. I just wasn't anywhere. But that's fine. Either way, from me and Peter, we'll see you again tomorrow. And of course, Igu has been bringing you the broadcast. Do not forget to come back at 12:25 UTC, wherever it is in your time zone. Be back here at RaceSpotTV because we will be bringing you live coverage of the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona powered by VCO. So much to talk about as we prepare for the hardest race of the year, the biggest struggle for everyone. It is going to be fantastic. Of course, you can see the rest of the schedule of the IMSA iRacing series. I'll be back on next week at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Hello. That one's going to be exciting. Definitely looking forward to that. It is going to be such a good run. But again, the big one is tomorrow. Just past midday, the Daytona 24 hour. Be there or be square. Until then, though, from myself and Peter, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.